Welcome to an early edition of Explore Grant County. We're here hitting it really early because you have to go to work.
What is it, 4:30? Is that what we're going to say time it is?
So it was a busy weekend for us.
It was a busy weekend.
You had a full campground.
We did. We had a women's group from Virginia.
I was running sound at Trout Fest in Franklin. Yeah. And in the middle of all that, we start getting calls. Never expected this.
Well, I expected us to get. We've been getting calls for months.
Yes, but never expected
what
this
they
call.
told us.
Yeah,
it wasn't interesting when you call me and you're like, "Hey," I'm like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah. So we get some calls this weekend. Some very upset citizens.
Yeah.
I mean, they were very upset, saying they got Levy brochures,
an advertisement.
Vote yes for the Levy brochures in their mailbox.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's quite an expense for the city or for the school system to pay to mail them."
Listen, even besides that, the signs, the banners, the meetings, the mail. I bet you the brochure probably cost. It was color.
Yeah,
it was gloss,
color, and it was like trifold or something.
Yeah,
I think
it was probably 75 cents a piece.
Yeah,
it's a big expense.
It's a big expense. So let me get this straight. You have one or two options on this. One, the school system is paying for it, so they're spending your tax dollars
to get more tax.
They're
running it like a business.
Or two, someone donated it.
Yeah.
But then, why didn't you just give your donation towards education, not a flyer?
Well,
so either way, it's kind of...
The problem is, you can't give your money to... Here's the thing. If you give your money to the schools, like we do...
Yeah.
You don't get the same camaraderie and you don't look as good. But if you give your money to say, I'm going to help you get more taxes, it makes you look good and feel good.
Yeah, so one of two things.
If it's a donor, why aren't you donating that money to pay for stuff at the school? Number one. And number two, if it's a school, why is our tax dollars going to
try to raise more tax dollars? So that was a little odd. But
we thought, hey, they mailed it. That's okay.
Then I started asking questions to them. I'm like, well, is there a bulk mail?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can be imprinted sometimes.
Picture on it. And the gentleman said, no, nowhere. And I said, well, how did they get there? He says, let me do some investigation.
Let me pull my cameras up.
Yeah. So he pulled his cameras up and he said, JR, he said, some lady in a black SUV came all around the Bryant's-field, and we had multiple cameras looking. We don't know who it is. We couldn't get a clear shot, but we know it's a black SUV, and they're putting them in the mailbox.
Ding, 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 ding.
So then someone else calls the post office.
Yeah, they know. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they call the post office. The postmaster goes ballistic. First of all, it's a federal offense.
Why would she go ballistic, JR?
Because it's a federal offense.
You mean it's a federal offense to put mail in a mailbox?
Yes.
Are you
sure? The school system created a felony.
And so interesting, she said, I'm going to call the school system on Monday. These people said they're going to call the postmaster general as well. And she said, I'm going to call the school and they're going to get a bill.
Yeah,
because you're not allowed to put mail in a mailbox without mail.
I was shocked. I didn't, I had to do some research on that, and what the postmaster said. Of course, I figured she would know. She's the postmaster, but I verified. Yeah, and I'm like, holy crap, that is
it's a federal offense. Well, listen, at first I was.
So wait, here's my question: if it's a felony, that person can't teach in the school. Can you teach in the school with if you get charged with a felony?
My guess is
I don't know if they'll do that.
Well, from business, we have campaigns where we've done door knockers or door hangers or whatnot. Now, some of our customers did go and put them in mailboxes, and normally they got their hands slapped, and the post office would call them and say, "This is illegal. It's a felony. If you do it again, we're going to come after you." So traditionally, the post office,
so kind of like is a warning.
The post office is assuming the person doing it's not very educated on what they're doing, right? And so traditionally, the post office would slap their hand. Now that's traditionally. Yeah. I don't know about Petersburg. I'm talking about like in the city when we're doing door knocking.
I do know, according to the person, the postmaster was not happy. She's like, "That's taking money out of our post office.
It's illegal to put." I'm a Seinfeld. Newman he worked for the post office.
That's right.
And Kramer put a brick in his mailbox.
So he couldn't get
mail.
Delivered.
My whole life is based on Seinfeld.
From the people that have reached out to us,
they were a little pissed.
They were a little upset,
Yeah.
so there might be bricks in their mailbox now if that's the type of mail they're getting.
I was actually going to congratulate the school on doing something that was cost effective.
Yeah.
Hey, for once we're not spending thousands and tens of thousands of dollars unwisely. Now you're thinking, but then it's illegal. So.
Yeah. And according to the postmaster, they're going to get hit with a bill. Now we'll see if that follows through.
Who knows?
You know, we will check up with the postmaster in a couple of days, see what happened. But that was a very eventful weekend while I'm trying to run sound, getting all these calls and texts.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it must have been all through the Bryan's field because it was multiple places.
I didn't hear of it. I didn't hear of it anywhere else. Doesn't mean it wasn't.
Yeah.
But
if anyone out there else knows and you have a mailbox, like they can't get into mine.
Yeah. You have
only the post office
yeah.
can get into mine.
Well, why is that?
Well, because it's only the post office that's supposed to be allowed in your mailbox.
Really?
You're not even allowed to leave a card or leave a note. It's your buddy. Hey, your car got towed. You're not even allowed to do that.
Yeah, it's a federal offense.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, normally the post office assumes the person doing it's not very educated, and they're going to try to teach them about it. So I don't think it'll be anything drastic, but it does speak to just speaks to the wisdom that we keep talking about. Just do they really know what they're doing? Do they?
Well, and that's what we're saying.
But here's something.
Okay. You have something else.
I got something else. The superintendent said multiple times we passed our audit.
Yes, he said in the Board of Education meeting,
He said in the newspaper.
Yes, we did. There was nothing wrong.
No issues.
Nothing issue.
And I think the superintendent and the treasurer both said that. I could be wrong. I think they did.
I don't know if the treasurer did, but I know we heard it firsthand in the press, and then we heard it firsthand.
Well, then we found out that it wasn't true.
Oh, so something did happen.
CARES Act. They weren't clean. They weren't clean and free. It wasn't perfect, which it's hard to be perfect when you're doing that.
We had someone reach out to us that read the paper, and the person said, "There's no way." They make sure they find something in an audit. They make sure they find something.
In all fairness, because Tony's been very nice helping us out lately, so thank you, Tony. It's not easy making sure everything's 100% perfect. Yeah. And I'm not saying you're being dishonest intentionally. It's just hard, especially when you're running a $20 million organization.
So when the health department comes to restaurants into the pool,
they always find something.
It's their job to find something.
Listen, Colin did the church down at the fair. I didn't get written up for anything.
Okay, I found this hard to believe. I'm going to have to fact check this.
No, he did. And of course, I threw away the paper, but he said no issues found.
There you go.
He told me don't serve pizza where someone would die on Monday. And I said, listen, you come back in 3 hours, the pizza will be expired. I'll give you some. And we laughed. He was very nice. But anyway, so we did find an issue. So what they said wasn't extremely correct. I mean, the superintendent does a great job spinning. And so if you really my rule is ask the second question, you really learn the truth. So they had corrective action. So I'm not going to say who the business was, to be fair. The LEA stated the verbal quotes gathered. Now, this was them spending $277,000
on
150 TVs.
150 TVs during COVID.
The LEA stated that verbal quotes were gathered because the individual price of each TV was under $5,000. So they said we don't need.
The school system.
The school
said we don't need a quote
because each TV is less than $5,000. And it's policy 8200, which Tony gave us about how they can spend money, what they need approvals for, written quotes. So the school told the auditor that each TV was under $5,000, and we kind of assumed that maybe
we questioned that. We were like, okay, so is it like a project? Is it because also it's another thing we haven't even got into. They bought Chromebooks, and I have not got to look at that to see if they got multiple bids on the Chromebooks because we were like, a Chromebook could be. We did get because we haven't talked about this yet, but Tony, we went in. It's been a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it has been. That's why we've been kind of dark. We've been sifting through papers.
And we do have jobs.
Yeah.
And I'm not a CPA. And so I'm like going through numbers. I'm like calling my accountant. I'm like, help me out. So But Tony apologized and said, "I'm sorry he was aggressive towards you and bullied you in the office." So he apologized, which was nice. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We're here to get the information.
Yeah.
Tony.
And
We have nothing against
the
you.
whole conversation was very
nice.
civil. He answered all of our questions.
Agreed.
Gave us the stacks of everything. Now it's just sifting through each page, back and front. By the way.
Oh no, I'm aware.
It's
I'm aware. I do that as I'm driving. Don't tell.
Oh gosh.
Don't tell the state troopers that. But anyway, so the school said, well, each TV was under 5,000, so we're okay. But policy 8200 7.3 states that the threshold level to be used is determined by the total estimated cost of the item being purchased, not the individual units. The touchscreen monitors, they bought 150 touchscreen monitors, totaled $277,500 for the 150 units. The items required sealed bids, and the school was saying we got a verbal bid because I think under 5,000 you can do a verbal bid. The sealed bids, it must be publicly advertised. Okay. Transparency.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. What we're asking for.
So here's my question: have we ever seen? And
I don't read.
I don't read everything, and it's very hard. But have we ever seen them publicly say, and maybe they have,
I don't know.
Tony might correct this.
I don't know.
Did they say, hey, we're going to pave the parking lot, get your bids in now? So I don't know what public means. I don't know if they have to post it, if they just...
Well, I know... Yeah, I mean, public, so...
Because all I heard, I listened to one Board of Education meeting about the Chromebooks, and all they said is that they were late.
Let me finish reading the sentence, the paragraph.
Oh, okay.
It answers our question.
Oh, okay.
I guess I should read.
Go ahead.
The items required sealed bids that must be publicly advertised using media, using such media as legal advertisements in local newspapers, the internet, etc.
So they could put it on Facebook.
They could. But listen, we can't even find their meetings on Facebook. And they bought software, GoToMeetings and stuff to do their BOE meetings
and
online.
I have tried to find. That's another question I probably need to ask. Yeah. Is it on there? Because I know
looked.
they record them, but I've not been able to watch them live. Because sometimes I can't. Like I could watch it from my phone while I'm working, but I can't make it. Yeah,
and I don't know. So just so everyone knows, it says here highlighted in yellow for corrective action. So they got corrective action. The LEA must submit written procedures on how they will ensure that the bidding requirements per policy 8200 will be adhered to moving forward. So they got their hands slapped. Yeah, because they weren't following policy.
Yeah.
Now, when you listen to what the superintendent said, we did fine.
There were no findings, is what he said.
Yeah, and so that wasn't true, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't.
Now they passed.
Oh, of course.
They did pass.
Yeah.
And it was better than some of the other counties.
Some of the other counties, and I didn't go through. Tony sent us a list of all the. I never went through all the counties because I don't have the bandwidth to do that. But they have to submit a written procedure how they're going to actually follow the policy 8200, which is funny, and it'll be adhered to moving forward to the Office of Federal Programs by June 24th, 2023. So this was a federal audit, I assume. That Tony sent us the information for. So we just wanted to point that out, and we accidentally stumbled across this. And to your point, there's loads of documents.
Oh my!
It's a lot of paper.
It's a lot of paper.
And like I said, I would expect them to make a mistake because it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And so I don't think the treasurer's being dishonest. I just think that there's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot to go through.
It's a lot. And so, but to stand up and for the superintendent to say we're perfect, and then when you start digging into this stuff, you found out, well, that's just not being honest. That's not being transparent. And nobody would have known that if we didn't stumble. I mean, they didn't tell us. We accidentally asked the question, had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
We said, can we see the bids for this $277,000 purchase? And he said, we didn't get bids. We got...
Yeah, it was just an accidental thing.
It was truly accidental. He probably thinks we're like geniuses. It was an accident.
We're not that smart.
No. So I thought that was interesting because of all the buzz. I mean, they purposely made it like, look at this. And then we found that they actually had corrective action because they didn't do something legally according to the federal government.
So kind of two dings with the federal government here that we found.
They're racking it up. And yesterday, a lady told us, not my words, I think it's time for the state to take us over again.
Yes,
I've heard that a couple times.
Yeah.
The state took us over once. I think they need to take it over again, which is, I know the local school district hates that because the state comes in and they lose all their authority. And the superintendent's gone.
I don't think it'll give it away. The profession.
I'd be careful.
Okay.
I'd be careful. We
don't want to create trouble for the person.
Yeah, and we said we'd try to, there are some questions we said the answer stays in there. I mean, it was a really good meeting last night we had. So
one of the things that we found out going around to people also, and I didn't know if you know this, we were kind of told more in depth about the levy and how they were going with the firemen.
How they were going to combine them.
They were going to combine the fire levy and the
school levy.
School levy.
Yeah.
And the superintendent made a promise to the fire departments that if they ran with them and the tax dollars went down, because we covered this in another podcast, so let's go over this just in case they missed it. Allegheny Wood closed, so that's less tax dollars to come in.
And our charges were dropped against him. There was some legality.
Yeah, and so less taxes come in now.
Correct.
And that is less tax money that is collected on the levy.
Less tax revenue for the levy and your normal county tax.
Yes. Yeah. And the superintendent, to get the fire department to go with them and curry their favor, said any dollars less that come in, the school system will cover.
It up. Yeah.
It was like, now we have enough money.
The school systems that's broke.
We have enough money to cover.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. Shock. Now, this is what this individual told us, who is in the meetings with the superintendent.
Yes.
And she said, well, it was really weird. So it wouldn't be that they ran their levies together. If you look now, the school levy has community stuff. They have $15,000 for 4-H and money for the libraries up in Union and down in Petersburg. So another tag on that was going to be, $2.5 million for the fire departments. And so,
and if they took in $2 million, let's say,
they would.
They were going to make up the other $500,000.
I don't know. I would hope they would have got that in writing, because knowing the stuff and the spin that put on things, I've heard from the board office.
But I'm like, so we have that kind of money sitting around.
What people don't realize is every year property taxes increase every year. So the schools,
except for maybe, the total tax taken in this year might be less because of Allegheny Wood,
if something like that.
But your property goes up.
Traditionally, property tax continues to increase, and so every year the school gets a raise in just not levy, just normal county taxes every year, and we don't talk about that.
Yeah, on the house side, I guess we should say,
but even on,
because your vehicles decline.
Okay, so I understand that. Your housing side, the business side, unless something drastic like what happened at Allegheny Wood happens, right? But we were told that by... Who were we told that by? We had a doctor. Dr. Anthony called us from Frostburg State.
Yeah.
The head of the economics department.
The economics department, yes.
State.
Yeah.
He's the one who told us that. He said, listen,
that's right.
His words... I'm not a doctor, thank God.
Yeah, and he's a doctor in.
He has a PhD of economics. Yes, correct.
Yeah. He's not like a operating doctor.
Yeah, he's a PhD and he runs the economics department.
Yeah,
he
at
said
a university.
Right now it is inappropriate to ask taxpayers to continue to pay more taxes than necessary because of the economy. So he called and was telling us, "I've heard what you're talking about. I side with you." Just so funny because I'm not that smart. So I'm like, well,
yeah. He was my professor. That's where I got my little background, and it was supposed to be my double major.
Well, we know,
and now I'm running a pool.
We know he didn't call because how good of a student you were. Because now you're doing chlorine.
I had an A in his class.
Oh, did you? Okay. That's how you got your parents off your back. But he said the way it works with taxes. First off, in this environment, it's not the right environment.
And I had brought up the last time the levy ran.
Different president.
Economy.
Much better.
Booming.
Yeah.
More people in the workforce. It's funny because now they're saying, look, Biden added 2.5 million jobs. They were jobs that were coming back from COVID. So it wasn't a really ad. It was, okay, we're finally getting some of the workforce
I
back
think
to
our
work.
superintendent does the spin work for Biden.
For Biden, is that
I
what it
think
sounds
I
like?
think he works for Biden. And what's the lady's name? Who's the secretary?
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yeah. I think they know each other. KJP.
Yeah.
So he said that, and that's a PhD in economics, the head of the economics department. Of the
And we have had many people say, I am on a fixed income. And I don't know if they, and I will say something, when we did, I did a podcast and I was talking to somebody, and after the podcast, they said, well, you're already paying the tax. Why can't you continue to pay it?
Yeah.
And I said, because when the levy first started, I was making this much profit. And now with inflation, I'm making this much profit. So I'm making less money. I need that money. And that is the truth. And then someone always said, well, no amount of money should be too much to care about your kids. And I'm like, I agree. I already pay an astronomical amount to homeschool.
Yeah, well,
and taxes.
Let's say it's just not you. Let's say a normal citizen who sends their children to public schools, 60%, not 60%. What percentage of their property taxes go to the school? It was
50 or just shy of 50. It was almost half. So automatically went to the school.
You already send half of your taxes to the school. So you're already paying taxes. And the same person who told you that, I said, listen, I want the best for my kids. I have 4 kids, but I have a budget.
Yeah.
And I can only give my kids what's in my budget. I can't go to the city and say, hey, let's do a tax because Justin's a little low on money this year. You know, my wife's not working anymore. Help me out. You can't do that. You have to learn to budget and stay within that. So I thought that was interesting.